right, well, happy Monday, Central Georgia. It's meteorologist Ansley Parker here. I am in this morning for meteorologist Alex Pry, and we are going to still take a look at the extended forecast for the upcoming week. Now, obviously, we are coming off of a very exciting weekend. Snowfall across the entire area yesterday morning. But when you look across the sky cams this morning, you almost wouldn't know if you weren't a part of it. Everything that we saw yesterday is now gone. And as we head into the next couple of days, we are going to be sitting under a very calm weather pattern with not a whole lot to go on, at least in the form of precipitation into the midweek. But as we head into the second half of this upcoming work week and the upcoming weekend, there are going to be some big changes on the way in the form of rain chances and in the form of temperatures that we'll need to watch out for. So a lot to talk about in the upcoming forecast. And then, of course, we'll also go over the snowfall totals that we saw yesterday and talk a little bit more about the reports that we got from viewers and then what the National Weather Service ended up going with in terms of official totals. So this is a look across all the sky cams. Right now you can see blue skies, and the blue skies pretty much will go uninterrupted through the next couple of days. There's not going to be a whole lot to talk about, like I said, in the first half of the week. So we'll turn our attention to the temperatures. Across the area, you can see the eastern half of the United States has taken a huge dip in the temperatures. Just looking at the coloring on the map here, purple's up there in the north, down here all the way in the south, even through Florida. We are sitting under some light blue, so you can tell there's just some abnormally cool air in our area. The fronts that came through over the weekend are really the driving force for that. They had something to do with what's going on in the upper levels of the atmosphere as well. So they just dragged down some polar air into the eastern half of the U.S. and we are all sitting under some much cooler numbers. We see 20s up there in Kentucky, a little further to the south in the Carolinas, upper 30s, low 40s, and we here in the state of Georgia are mainly in the low 40s. Some parts of northern Georgia are hanging on to the upper 30s, a little bit cooler up there. But here in central Georgia, again, we're sitting in the low 40s. So across the temperature board, we have a couple of upper 30s on there. It is mainly low 40s, and this is actually probably fairly close to where we were this time yesterday. We started seeing these temperatures work their way back into the upper 30s and low 40s by the afternoon yesterday, once that snowfall actually began to leave our area. So kind of a similar temperature feel, at least outside right now, but there's also a little bit of an added wind chill this morning. So the winds have been picking up a little bit steadily as we've gone into the late morning hours here. Throughout the rest of the day today, I'm not talking about crazy winds. Your hair won't be blowing around like crazy consistently. You just may notice from time to time a little bit of a breeze and a wind gust that today could get up to around 20 miles an hour. So the real reason that that is going to matter is because there will be a little bit of a wind chill out there today, which means the feels like numbers will be impacted. We've already seen them be impacted for most of the morning this morning. Earlier, when the temperatures were sitting in the mid to upper 20s, we had feels like numbers that were down in the low 20s and the upper teens. So it was a very cool feel out there this morning. And the story kind of continues this afternoon as well. You just saw the actual temperatures. They're in the upper 30s and the low 40s across the feels like board right now. The feels like numbers are down in the mid 30s and low 30s in a couple spots, even one upper 20 over there in Upson County. So this will be the trend heading into the rest of the afternoon. Temperatures themselves actually won't be so bad. The high today is going to climb into the low 50s. But like I said, we're still going to have a little bit of a wind chill out there today. Those wind gusts can get up to around 20 miles an hour. So I think feels like numbers may be somewhere closer to the mid 40s, maybe even potentially the low 40s in a couple of spots. So definitely a chilly, kind of brisk afternoon ahead of us here. Obviously a high temperature of 50 degrees is still below average for this time of year as well. So certainly cool for the rest of the day today, but our silver lining is plenty of sunshine on the way for this afternoon. Now that's going to be important for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, we did have some areas of patchy black ice out on the roads early this morning. Now, we didn't have a ton of refreezing out there, but there was a couple of areas where moisture didn't have the chance to quite evaporate yesterday, and we saw some refreezing in the overnight hours. The sunshine will take care of that later today, and we really won't have to worry about refreezing for Tuesday morning. So by the time folks are back on the roads early tomorrow morning, heading back to work, I know today's a holiday, so many folks not on the roads today, we really won't have to worry about that for tomorrow. The other reason this will be good is just because it will hopefully help those cooler numbers feel a little bit less brisk this afternoon. But let's talk a little bit more about the forecast here in just a minute, and we'll take a couple of steps back and talk about what we saw yesterday. We've gotten the official report from the National Weather Service over projected totals across our area. Now, if you were watching any of the coverage yesterday, you know this map all too well. If you're watching with us last year during our historic snowfall event, then you definitely remember this map. This is the one that we here have created as a team to compile reports that we get from viewers at home. So people have sent us in different pictures of their ruler down in the snow, and we've been able to take measurements across the entire area. Now, what I've done here is included the measurements that I got yesterday from a lot of folks, but also the National Weather Service kind of made a average across different counties of what they think, you know, different reports kind of add up to and create the average for the county. So I've thrown a couple of those county averages on here as well. But the trends are kind of the important part of this whole thing. So remember, this area of snowfall really came in from the west yesterday, so our north and western counties were really the ones who saw the impressive totals. Monroe County stands out to me just because we had eyes and feet on the ground over in that area. Our reporter Hunter King was giving us up-to-date information live in Monroe County, and we saw the whole thing kind of unfold over in that area, and it looked really impressive when he was out there. You may remember they got a flat tire over in that area. The storm lab had to sit there for a while, so we were really able to see the full progression of, you know, start to finish over there in Monroe County, and it was very impressive. But you know, they got about 2 inches of snowfall. That was one of the heaviest spots that we saw here from kind of the county averages. But a lot of our north and western counties got over an inch of snowfall, and that kind of stopped as we got closer to I-16. So you can see as we push our way down towards the south and east, our southeastern counties got more trace amounts. If you see a T on here, that just means trace amounts. So things that weren't really measurable, you know, enough snowfall to maybe stick for a moment or two, but not something that you could really stick a ruler into. That will be those trace amounts. That was kind of the case down there in Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery. I think, you know, Trutland maybe a little bit more than that. Johnson, I didn't hear from anybody in Johnson County. Twiggs and Wilkinson, still waiting for some information from there, same as Hancock, as well as Pulaski, Dooley, and Wilcox. So if you are in those areas and you happen to have a photo, feel free to send it our way or send it into the newsroom. Otherwise, this is kind of the general trend that we saw yesterday. Now, we also have the official trend from the National Weather Service. This is based on observation. So we just looked at county averages. The numbers that you're going to see here are actually pinpoint numbers that they received from actual observations in the field, like what we saw yesterday. So that's kind of the numbers that you'll see plotted on here. Most notably, there is a 3-inch plot over there in Monticello, so that is the highest amount that you'll see on this snowfall map. But other than that, here in our specific area, the highest one that we saw was over in Houston County. National Weather Service reported a number of 2.3 inches. So that is pretty substantial. And again, over in Monroe County, we saw close to 2 inches, up in Upson over 2 inches, and across the board, mainly this kind of 1 to 2 inch zone where you see this darker shade of blue. Once we make our way out of this darker shade of blue, we're starting to find the light blue and even kind of the white down here in Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery. Trace amounts in this area, so not quite as heavy snowfall totals, but I did hear from folks in that area. They told me that it was sticking for a little bit, you know, maybe not up to over an inch or close to 2 inches, but still substantial enough to kind of see some actual real snowflakes, at least for a time before we saw this whole thing move out. So that is this year's snowfall event. Cannot believe it, but we had 2 years back to back of snowfall here in central Georgia. Just because, for a walk down memory lane, this is a look at last year's snowfall totals, our historic snowfall event here in central Georgia. You know, when you think about this compared to what we just saw yesterday, it's kind of mind-blowing just to look at some of the numbers that we had here in our area. Obviously yesterday, trace amounts in our southeastern counties last year, they were the ones who really saw the highest snowfall totals. So I remember specifically over there in Crisp County, 8 to 9 inches, and across our southeastern counties, it was anywhere between 4 to 9 inches. So this is absolutely crazy, especially when you compare it to this year. Similarly though, up in our north and western counties, these totals were close to what we saw yesterday. So a little bit of a split. Down in our southeastern, obviously it was nothing like what they saw last year. Up here in our northwestern counties, actually kind of a similar story. A few spots locally a little bit heavier than that, but fairly similar to what we saw last year. Obviously it was a little more widespread last year and lasted a little bit longer. This year we only saw it until about the afternoon and then everything was gone. But for a little more snow history, like I said, this is 2 years back to back that we've actually had snowfall. That is not the norm here in central Georgia. Typically, we really go many years without seeing snowfall. So over the last 10 years, we've only had 2 with notable amounts of snowfall. We've got a trace amount back in 2016, a couple of flurries, not really anything that amounted to much. Back in 2018, an event similar to what we saw yesterday, around an inch here in the Macon area. And then we went a couple of years without seeing anything until our snowfall event last year. In the Macon area, last year's snowfall event totaled up to around 3 inches. So we have now gone back-to-back years with snowfall here in the area. And again, not the norm. So very interesting to kind of see how this climatology has shaped out for this month over the past 2 years. And I think we still have a very interesting month ahead of us here. I'll talk a little bit more about what's in the forecast. And we will be once again talking about snow and ice in the southeast, maybe not here in central Georgia, but once again in the deep south and the southeast. So more to come on that here in just a minute. Let's see if my graphic will progress. There we go. Like I said, unfortunately yesterday what we saw didn't last very long because by the afternoon we had a high temperature of 46 degrees, so way too warm to support anything that really fell yesterday. And now we're sitting under a completely different story. It's calm, it's clear outside, the skies are quiet, and the satellite and radar will pretty much go quiet for most of this week. If we zoom in specifically to our central Georgia area here, you really won't even see any cloud cover. In fact, if you're curious what that is there just south of I-16 near the radar, likely a flock of birds or even some bugs. That's usually what that is when you see a ring like that around the radar. So if we flip off the clouds and just focus in on anything that could be there in the way of moisture, we've got nothing at all. And the future view is going to look pretty boring for the next couple of days. Through the rest of today, we've got no rain chances on the way. As we head into Tuesday, folks return back to work. Still really nothing on the way. Tuesday's going to be another clear and quiet day, and we stay that way through about Wednesday morning. So a very quiet, very calm, good start to the work week here. But as we head into Wednesday, some changes will start to be in the mix. Now, we don't really have rain chances on the way Wednesday, but by Wednesday evening, you'll start to notice that the skies aren't going to look quite as clear. We'll have an increase in cloud cover starting Wednesday evening. Again, it will just build in gradually as we go throughout the evening into the late night hours. By Wednesday late night, we could potentially have a light shower or two, but I really think it's going to be more in the early morning hours Thursday that we start to see some of these. So this is not a washout by any means, but it kind of gives you a picture of what Thursday and Friday are going to end up looking like. We're going to have these scattered showers that move into our area. Yes, they will be light scattered showers, but you also see we have widespread cloud cover across the whole area. So Thursday and Friday aren't going to be the best looking days. Now, Thursday and Friday really set up what's going to be a much bigger rain chance as we head into the weekend. So that was Thursday. We'll play the long range models out through Friday, and you'll see a very similar type of thing. Just a couple of light scattered showers in the area. Like I said, this is not going to be a washout by any means, but you may have to duck and dodge rain through the day, and with widespread cloud cover, it's not going to be the best looking day. So that's Thursday and that's Friday. Like I said, those are kind of the teaser days for a much bigger rain chance on the way for Saturday. As we kind of head into Saturday, you can start to see that most of the southeast and the deep south actually looks like they've got a whole lot of moisture. So it's really not just us that's going to be dealing with this rain chance into the weekend. We have this large scale upper level pattern that's moving into our area. It's pushing a lot of moisture our way, and it's got a good forcing to it. So it's going to provide a lot of moisture for not only us, but across a lot of regions here in the southeast and then in the deep south as well. So a very widespread rainfall event. And I emphasize that we do think there's going to be a widespread precipitation event. We're likely talking about rainfall here in central Georgia, but I'm sure by now, if you're on social media, you've likely heard about this being a snow and an ice event for certain areas across the southeast. The models have been hinting at that being a possibility. Now, as you know, Saturday is at the 5 to 7 day mark out from this time frame. So that is when details in terms of forecasting are in the least amount of focus. So it's really hard to say which areas really will be seeing this, if any areas at all. And the guidance that we've been given so far from long range models for here in central Georgia really just suggests that this is going to be some sort of a rainfall event for our area. So that's what we're going to go with for now. Saturday all day long looks to be a bit of a washout, and then this carries us over into early Sunday morning. Now, there is the potential that some of this tries to creep some frozen precip down into parts of northern Georgia. I think this is going to be really important to pay attention to for northern Georgia. Here in central Georgia, it's looking less likely that this will impact us, but it's enough in the guidance where we're going to keep our eye on it for the next couple of days. So if you hear about this over the next few days, just know it is something that we're paying attention to. It is something that we're watching. But as of Monday morning at 11:14 a.m., it really looks like it's going to be a rainfall event here in central Georgia. If details on that change, you'll be the first to know as we go through the next couple of days. So we'll call it a rainfall event for now. That's what it looks like for all of Saturday as we head into the overnight hours on Sunday and then into the early morning on Sunday as well. A pretty good rainmaker for that time frame. And then as we head into Sunday afternoon and evening, it begins to move out. And then you see, similar to today, the entire southeast and deep south is cleared out from any of that rainfall or any sort of mixed precip that we may see during that time frame. So keep your eyes posted on that. More details to come as we go throughout the week, as you know, and we will just kind of keep rocking with what we have for now, which is the temperatures. Through today, we are going to find our way into the low 50s is what I have forecasted, but it'll probably feel a bit more like the upper 40s. And then if you were out early this morning, you know that the temperatures felt really, really cold. That is going to be the trend through the midweek. So as we head into tomorrow morning, I don't know what is with the graph model not wanting to go lower than 31 degrees. We are definitely going to be back down in the mid-20s early tomorrow morning. So definitely cool start to the morning tomorrow. As we head into tomorrow afternoon, a similar day to what you'll experience this afternoon. High temperatures will be somewhere in the upper 40s, maybe 50 for a couple of spots, but still brisk and cool as we head into Tuesday afternoon. Now heading into Wednesday morning, we are going to once again be down in the 20s. Still, I don't know why the graph wants to do this. We have forecasted low 20s on there, so another very cool morning for Wednesday morning. And then heading into the afternoon, actually a little bit of an uptick in the temperatures by Wednesday afternoon. So as we head into the second half of the week, remember, there's just a lot of changes overall. We're going to start to see the cloud cover increase by Wednesday. We'll start to see some of the rain chances begin to creep into parts of the state. And we're also going to see the temperatures rise. So as that rain chance starts to make its way into our area, it's going to switch the flow around like we usually do here in the winter time. You know, when we have the winds coming in from the northwest, that's when the temperatures are a little bit colder. But notice here, we're at Wednesday afternoon. Take a look at where the flow is coming from the south, not from the north. So it's going to be filtering in what we call warm air advection. We'll be getting some warmer temperatures here in our area. The air will feel a bit warmer, and that will be the trend as we head into the second half of the week. If you're a winter lover, don't worry. When I show you the 7-day forecast here in a minute, as we head to the end of the 7-day forecast, those cool numbers are right back and we are well below average heading into the second half of the weekend. So more on that here in just a minute, but we'll talk about the warming trend as we go through the next couple of days first. So that was the actual temperatures. I want to show you the feels like numbers just to kind of give you a little bit more perspective of how things will actually feel outside for the next couple of days, because like I said, the graph model doesn't really want to go lower than the 30s for the overnight low, but I definitely think that we're going to find our way lower than that for the next few days. So this afternoon we will be in the upper 40s, low 50s. Remember, today there is a little bit of a wind chill out there, so that's why the graph model has factored in that things might feel more like the low 40s. Then heading into the overnight tonight, better depiction of how things will actually be tomorrow morning, somewhere in the mid-20s. Definitely pack a jacket and make sure that the kids are bundled up as you kind of get ready to gear them back into school time. Now heading into Tuesday afternoon, it's still going to be a pretty brisk and cool day. We'll probably have a little bit of a breeze out there tomorrow as well. Monday and Tuesday are going to be very rinse and repeat days. No rain chances, cool temperatures, and that's probably how Tuesday will go as well. Wednesday morning is still nice and cool, but then remember, heading into Wednesday afternoon, the flow changes and the temperatures are going to climb. So I'm going to show you the 7-day forecast here, and you'll see we're on a bit of a warming trend as we go through the next couple of days. Monday and Tuesday, remember, you can kind of just write these off as almost the exact same days, sunny, and it will be cool for both Monday and for Tuesday. Wednesday is what we're going to call that transition day. So we'll start to see the cloud cover increase throughout the day on Wednesday. The morning will be cold, but the afternoon we're going to find our way into the mid-50s. By Thursday, those mid-50s are turning into low 60s, and we keep the low 60s around for Friday as well. So these are kind of the days where we start to see gradual warming. Not only that, but we start to see the scattered showers creep in on Thursday, and the scattered showers will stick with us on Friday, potentially a little bit more on Friday, but honestly, now that I've seen the latest model runs, I may even end up bumping that to a 20, because these are pretty similar days. As we head into the weekend, of course, Thursday and Friday are really the setup for the big rain chance that's on the way for Saturdays. Pretty widespread rain looking like it on the long range models right now. Remember, That's something that we're going to be paying attention to here for the next couple of days. Potentially could be more of a frozen situation for North Georgia, and we have to keep our eye on how far south that potentially could creep. As of right now, I've got no reason to put anything other than rain chances for Saturday. So we're going to go with rain for now. Same situation for Sunday. That front coming across is going to bring us widespread rain Saturday. That carries us over into early Sunday morning. Notice the temperatures that are warmer Thursday and Friday don't hang on very long as we head into the weekend. We're back down near average on Saturday, and then as we head into Sunday, we are well below average for this time of year as that front clears some moisture out of our area, likely ushers in some wind and some cooler temperatures with it. So as of Monday, that is what the forecast looks like for the upcoming week. Of course, meteorologist Alex Pry will be back in tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for another look at your extended forecast. If you have interests in the weekend, this is going to be the week to stay into touch with us because we are going to have a lot of updates about that Saturday rain chance and how things are looking as we go through the next couple of days. But if you submitted photos to us yesterday, I want to give a personal thank you. That information is so helpful to us here at 13 WMAZ, but also so helpful to the National Weather Service, and we were able to pass along a lot of the information that viewers at home sent us. So thank you very much for that, and thank you so much for joining us this Monday morning at 11 a.m. Again, we'll be back tomorrow morning. Make it a great day.